Hi, this is Catherine. This is Taking Tea with Catherine. This is milk oolong chai from Bird and Blend. Very nice tea company. And I was just in the mood for it, that's all. I am doing a book tag today. I was tagged by Hannah at Hannah's Books, and it is an original tag by SHAWN the Book Maniac. It is called the Mookse and the Gripes Bucket List Book Tag, which was based on a podcast, which I have yet to see, so I'm looking forward to it. Yet another thing to put on my, not bucket list, but maybe immediate list. What is the opposite of bucket lists? Whatever. The deal is basically to pick 10 books that you would like to read before the end, right? Very cheerful, but it does, it does make me think of what I am, prioritizing or whatever. And some of these books I really do want to read. Soon, actually. Some of them may come up very soon in TBRs. Some of these books I have started. You will see bookmarks in them. And I know I want to continue in it, but something stopped me from continuing for a while, and I want to return to them. I just think these are books that I know personally I want to have read. Some of these may appear on lists that I would, if I was going to sit down and make a list, that would say I would have liked to, I would like to have read in terms of I feel like I should, to say I've read it, but I don't like to go just on that. I like to go on really what I feel motivated to read, what I like. So I think this is a pretty good pile here, but some of these books are a little more challenging, and I find that's usually the case, because some of the books that are easy, quick reads you may have gotten to already because it's easy and quick. So yeah, there's no particular rhyme or reason between these. These are just 10 books that I have high on my list, and there are so many others. I could have 20 books, I could have 30 books, 100 books really on this list. So these are just at this moment. Maybe next week it would be different. At this moment, this is what I have on my list. I'm gonna try to keep it in order, starting with fiction and having a couple of nonfiction. Almost thought about doing 2 lists, 10 fiction and 10 nonfiction, and then I said, let's not complicate life, So I'm not. And let's begin. The first one is a Charles Dickens. Now, I sort of do want to read almost all of Charles Dickens' books. That's like already a thing, just like Trollope and a couple of the other writers that I would like to finish all of their works. I've been doing really badly in the past 5, almost 10 years with completing a Dickens. I don't know what happened. This particular one is also historical fiction, which tends to float my boat. And I did start a few pages in, I think in 2019, and then I realized I just couldn't because I had too many other things going on. But this is a really famous one, and it's called A Tale of Two Cities. It is, I know what happens in it because I've seen a film adaptation, so I know where it's going, and I've heard mostly good things about it, but for some reason, though I've read a lot of bigger Dickens books and quite loved them, and then there's a few that I didn't care for. This one I haven't gotten to it, so will I get to it for Victober? Possibly. This one is very, very much featured on a lot of people's bucket lists. I've already seen this on Hannah's list and many other people's. I did start this book and another book by the same writer, both of which could have appeared on this list. And I had no problem with it. It just didn't continue. Things got in the way. Maybe the length of it got in the way, intimidation, etc. And that is War and Peace, yes, by Tolstoy. And I have heard some people say they really didn't like it, or that it goes off on certain bits of historical things that are just too much. And then I've heard other people say it was one of the best books they ever read, and it was just enjoyable from beginning to end. And that's different walks of life. So I think I would enjoy it. This is the year I started really reading Russian novels at all, really. I mean, finishing, I should say, not just beginning them, because I have begun this book and Anna Karenina, which could have easily been on this list. I just don't know what happened. I just don't know. So wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be great? This is one that I started last year for Victober, but then I had too many things in my Victober. Knew I liked it. And I probably will have it, spoiler alert, for my Victober TBR. And that is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. Everything I've read by Elizabeth Gaskell I've loved. I enjoy her style of writing, I enjoy her characterization, etc. And I did. I read up to, let's see, in this book, it was page 64. So I made progress. I just didn't have the time to read it last year, despite knowing that it was a good book. So wouldn't it be great this year if I don't have to have it on my bucket list in the future? The next one is a book that I started last year around this, and I left off actually around this time, sometime in late September actually. I got up to, let's see, page 322, which you might say, well, that's basically a novel, but not when it's this big of a book. The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Am I saying that right? I don't know. No, I'm so bad at pronunciation sometimes. It was actually a quick running, fascinating novel, and then I put it down because I was getting into other things, and I never was able to pick it back up again. I was sort of buddy reading it with my sister, and she finished it. She loved it, and she also loved War and Peace, by the way. So I think I probably would end up loving it, and other people I know have said wonderful things about it and have read it recently, and somehow I just haven't returned to it, and I feel kind of bad about that, but I know I really do want to read it. I really do. This is a book I read a couple of, I guess, chapters of. No, a chapter of. I think I read the intro, and this is one that I've heard so many people say, oh, Catherine, you would love this book. And I believe them. I could be wrong, but I think that I would like it, and it's a little bit more of a recent. Let's see, the other books here have all been over 100 years old. This one was written in my lifetime. So I like to have a little bit of the variety too, and that is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I heard it's a bit intense, and you know, it was kind of like the Bible of dark academia, you know, and I do like the whole dark academia aesthetic, etc. I'm not obsessed with it, but I like it, you know. So that in itself makes me think I would enjoy it. I do like books that take place in schools, you know, campuses. Is that the plural of campus? Campuses? Anyway, campi? Campusi? No, that sounds even worse. But anyway, so I think this would be something I could get into. I did start The Goldfinch a while back and did not make much progress. I didn't like it at all, actually. Not the writing itself, the style itself was pretty good. So I do think the author herself, Donna Tartt, has something for me. So I'm hoping this is the one. And maybe this year I'll actually finally get to it. Maybe not, but I really would like to before I'm 50, maybe? I don't know. Okay, and this is a science fiction book, which I've heard not only recommended to me, but recommended to many people. And I did I read 28 pages last year. Another one I started last year around this time, and just had to leave off. It was great, just didn't have the time. And that is Ursula Le Guin's The Left Hand of Darkness. I am not that into science fiction, but if I really like a science fiction book or a television show, whatever, I really, really like it. So I know I was reading this a lot when I was just starting to take the subways again last year, and I know it kept me occupied from being too stressed. I don't know, the subways are just very stressful nowadays, and I have a feeling that if I just sat down, it's not a big book. This is not like these other ones that are massive and ponderous. I could really have a great time with this and other books by Ursula Le Guin. I have read a book of poetry by her, strangely enough, but it was amazing. Her writing is amazing, like absolutely up my alley, but somehow didn't. Yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to explain why you don't always make progress with things. Here's another thing that I started, and this is another one that Hannah spoke of and other folks have spoken of, and like Hannah, I also have the baking goal in mind now that I have my oven back. That is a possibility, but I don't bake when it's hot. Right now, it's actually kind of hot out. Why? We're in September, but let's stop griping. and that is Proust. The entire series, really, but even just Swann's Way. I started Swann's Way probably around the same year I started Anna Karenina and other things, and I liked it. I don't know. Again, probably had like a couple library books out that I had to finish and thought, well, I own this book, I'm just going to put it to the side, something along those lines. And somehow it just stayed there. And it's yet another one that when people hear me, because I've mentioned it on BookTube a number of times, oh, I was looking for this pen. I thought I lost it. Never mind. Anyway, yay. So, yeah, a lot of people who have heard me mention it on BookTube, like these other books, are like, oh, woo, woo, you know, like, yes, Catherine, go for it, do it. Yes, you'll love it, whatever. And I hope to agree with them. Now, this one, I don't know if it's a cop-out because this is definitely more, more books in one, but it's in one volume, so I'm just going to count it because it is a life goal that I could have forwarded a little bit this month, but somehow did not manage to stick it in my TBR. And that is the entire works of... I can't pick it up. Okay, yes I can. Okay, warming up. Shakespeare! I have read a number of Shakespeare plays. Most of them are plays, and I've read a lot of sonnets. I've read a lot of the tragedies, a few comedies. I've read very few of the histories. Me, the person who loves to read about the Henrys and the Richards and the Johns. Well, not the Johns so much, but I do. And somehow I have not made any progress there. And there's just so much of Shakespeare I just haven't read yet or even seen yet. And that is just a massive life goal. I would like to, if, I don't want to think about the end of my life, but if I would like to have at least made a massive amount of progress in reading Shakespeare. And some of it is a little pretentious just to say I have, whatever. But some of it is, I remember reading A Midsummer Night's Dream on my own, Hamlet on my own, Macbeth on my own, and other ones in school. And with rare exceptions, I really had a good time with it. And so this is not something that I heard someone quote that you either love Jane Austen or you love Shakespeare, not both. And I'm like, I want to prove people wrong, or whoever quoted that. Probably like Mark Twain or something. Mark Twain always had something obnoxious to say about Jane Austen. He's not on my bucket list, although I do have some books of his I'd like to read, but he's not on my bucket list, okay? Just, no, excluded. He and Hemingway, I'll get to you when I get to you, you know what I'm saying? Although I probably did read Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn in school. Anyway, here's a book that I've had for a number of years. The bookshop I bought it from has been closed. It was from my neighborhood. It's been closed for a very long time. And it is just something that, actually, I thought about later that I should have read it in Ancients-a-thon when that was up in June, but I was kind of busy, I guess. This, it's so old that the bookshop business card does not have a website. That's how old it is. So I've had this for a long time, and it just sounds really kind of a cool thing to read. I do like reading travel memoirs and stuff, and this is like the ultimate travel memoir. The Travels by Marco Polo. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be whatever, sometimes, but I mean, that's anything you read that, nowadays that is from ancient times or over 100 years old is going to say something that you don't quite like. But, I don't know. He was an Italian man who traveled to Asia and wrote about it. I don't know if he embellished that much, but I'm really curious about it. I had to choose between this and Canterbury Tales, which I also want to read. This one, I think I have even more of a desire to read. So, what do you know about that? So last but not least is a book that I read the first book of. So, book one of, and excuse me, and loved it. I got a little bit into book two and just stopped, and then a decade went by. And I know that I enjoyed the conversational manner. I know this is a good translation. I know I love history, recent and ancient, so I know that I want to read the rest of it. Got a dent in it. Herodotus, the Histories. It is but it has been staring at me for years. It has been looking at me from the shelves saying, I thought we had a good thing going, and why have you put me away to sit with these other Barnes & Noble classics, these Wives and Daughters, which is actually good company, this War and Peace, which is another volume of War and Peace that I have for some reason, this Moonstone, and The Way We Live Now, which had a lot of love and enjoyment, and why am I just sitting here hanging out with them? Most of them get to brag that I haven't read except War and Peace, but they enjoy bragging about not being read. But why do I have to sit here? Because obviously Herodotus is a bit whiny. And so I would like to return to Herodotus. I was up in Egypt at this point, and I don't know how much farther it goes into other civilizations. I know it's got to get a little bit into Greek history too, right? And I mean, that is something that I really find good, and it was very, very readable. So that is just 10 books that I would like to read before I can read no more. And I am not going to tag anybody because I saw so many people being tagged. I feel bad if I am forgetting anyone, but I usually find myself at the point where I am the last person. One of the last people to get tagged, and I don't feel bad about that. So by the time I get round to it, I am, there's no one left, or there's very few left. So if, again, the usual thing I say is if you really feel like you've wanted to be a part of this tag, then tag yourself, please, or consider yourself tagged by me, just because I'm just too lazy. And so that's all for now. I gotta get to reading. I hope you've enjoyed this tag, and I hope, if you want to do this tag on your own, or if you just want to list them in the comments below, I'm happy to see your list, even if you have a couple of books. Or if you've agreed with any of these. I think you're supposed to say that maybe people can pick one of these books for you to read sooner rather than later. You are welcome to suggest if any of these books are, ASAP or not ASAP. So for now, this is Catherine taking tea with Catherine. Have a lovely tea and book-filled lifetime.